On an ordinary night in Seoul, Lee Young-ho, a North Korean agent, sat inside a modest eatery run by an elderly woman. Over soju and a simple meal, they exchanged quiet words. Both were secret operatives working far from home. Young-ho had just wrapped up a critical mission on South Korean soil. Stepping back into the dim streets, he headed home. But unease slowed his steps when he felt eyes on him. A pack of strangers was trailing close behind. Staying composed, he quickened his pace, yet they tightened the gap. Then the situation snapped. South Korean police swarmed in from every side, boxing him into a narrow alley. With nowhere to run, Young-ho lifted his hands in surrender. As he reached into his jacket, tension exploded. The officers fired without pause. Bullets tore through him, dropping him hard onto the cold pavement. In his hand, gripped tight even in death, was a family photo he'd just managed to pull free. The story moved to a grim prison camp in North Korea, where two siblings, Mi Young-hoon and his teenage sister Hye-in, were locked away. They were held as leverage to keep their father, Lee Young-ho, loyal while he carried out a mission in South Korea. But once Young-ho was branded a failure and charged with treason, the burden fell squarely on his children. Soon after, Young-ho's former boss, Colonel Moon Sang-chul, called in 19-year-old Mi Young-hoon. In that tense meeting, Colonel Moon laid out a cold bargain. If Mi Young-hoon agreed to replace his father as a spy and slip into South Korea, both he and his sister would be spared. And so began a new chapter, one that would demand everything he had, and more than he ever thought he could lose. This was the price of loyalty, the weight of family, and the brutal test of a promise. This was commitment. 2 years later, the ruthless North Korean operative known as Big Dipper from Unit 35 was dispatched to wipe out spies from Unit 8, part of a fierce internal power struggle. At the same time, Mi Young-hoon finally crossed into South Korea to carry out the mission set for him back at the camp. There, he was met by a married couple posing as everyday citizens, but in truth longtime North Korean agents. They gave him shelter and built his new cover. From that point on, Mi Young-hoon lived as Kang Dae-ho, starting a new chapter as a high school student in bustling Seoul. To stay under the radar, Dae-ho signed up at a nearby high school. On his first day, he found himself sitting next to a quiet girl named Lee Hye-in, a name that hit close to home. It sounded just like his sister's. During break, a pack of bullies closed in on their desks, surrounding Hye-in. One tried to buddy up to Dae-ho by throwing an arm around him, but Dae-ho pushed him off. Offended, they warned him and told him to meet them on the roof. Up there, they surrounded Dae-ho, snatched his wallet, and tore through his things. When one of them pulled out his family photo, Dae-ho grabbed it back in an instant and shoved it safely away. That small act made them even more hostile. They geared up to pound him, until a teacher arrived out of nowhere, scattering the gang and saving Dae-ho from a beating. Later, Dae-ho headed back inside and walked down the stairs. He spotted Hye-in peeking into the ballet room. Curious, he stepped over and asked her a few questions. But the moment the ballet captain noticed them, Hye-in took off without a word. In another part of the city, a man ran for his life through a deserted warehouse. He hid under a stack of boxes and made a frantic call, but no one picked up. Seconds later, his hunters found him and gunned him down without hesitation. Back at school, classes wrapped up and the teacher ordered the troublemakers to clean the room. They dodged the task by dumping it on Dae-ho and Hye-in. Wanting no extra trouble, the two quietly cleaned up, wiping windows until they were finally free to leave. That night, a package arrived for Dae-ho. Inside was a cell phone. The moment he turned it on, Colonel Moon was on the line, giving clear orders: hunt down and kill Big Dipper. Moon also told him to stop by a pharmacy and a bakery, both run by North Korean spies like himself. At the bakery, Dae-ho picked up a gun hidden neatly inside a cake, ready for his mission. With new leads on Big Dipper's circle, Dae-ho went after them. He cornered a large man who refused to talk, blurting out only one clue: butcher shop. With no answers and no patience, Dae-ho shot him dead right then and there. The next day, as Dae-ho neared his classroom, he spotted the same bullies going after Hye-in. They dumped trash on her desk and ordered her to clean it up. Without a word, Dae-ho stepped in to help, which only made them target both of them even more. Later, during a break, Dae-ho slipped into the ballet room and sat at the piano. He hit a few keys, memories of his sister flooding back. Just then, Hye-in entered, thinking she was alone. Dae-ho quietly left, and Hye-in stayed behind to practice by herself. It didn't take long for the ballet team to show up. They caught Hye-in dancing and wasted no time mocking her for being in the studio without permission. Meanwhile, Dae-ho was busy chasing down his next lead. Digging through the pockets of the heavy man he'd killed, he found an address tied to a butcher shop. It was the first real thread in his hunt for Big Dipper. Wasting no time, Daeho went straight to the butcher's shop. At first, the butcher seemed harmless, even handing over a note with Big Dipper's license plate number. But just as Daeho turned to go, the butcher lunged at him with a knife. Forced to act, Daeho fought back hard, killing the man before slipping out. Soon after, Daeho tracked down Big Dipper's car and tailed it on his motorcycle. It didn't take long for the driver to catch on. Daeho fired at the rear window, blowing out a tire. The car tried to speed off, but lost control and slammed into a barrier. As onlookers started to gather, Daeho vanished into the crowd, careful not to draw more eyes. The next day at school, Daeho was alone on the court, shooting baskets. That's when he saw the same bullies corner Hye-in again. They dragged her into the chemistry lab, shaking her down for cash. When she fought back, they tore her shirt, leaving her exposed and terrified. Seeing what was happening, Daeho stormed into the lab and took down the bullies without a second thought. In moments, they were all on the floor. Once it was over, he handed Hye-in his shirt so she could cover up, then led her out of the room. The next day, Hye-in didn't show up at school. With what happened still fresh, Daeho grew worried and decided to track her down. He found the bullies in the cafeteria and demanded answers. Scared of another beating, they told him where she worked. Daeho went there right away, only to hear from a coworker that Hye-in had quit and left school just the day before. Later, crossing the school courtyard, he was surprised to see Hye-in again. Her hair was cut short. At that moment, she gave back his shirt and asked him to pose as her older brother so she could land a better-paying job. Without pause, Daeho agreed. Hye-in took Daeho to her job to file the paperwork, listing him as her brother. After that, they walked through a park until nightfall. As they strolled, Hye-in shared how she was alone now, struggling to pay all the bills after losing her parents. Daeho listened quietly, knowing they were both carrying heavy loads. Meanwhile, Big Dipper uncovered who Daeho really was and tracked down his house. Without pause, he went straight to the pharmacy and shot Daeho's adoptive mother. Then he climbed upstairs and gunned down Daeho's adoptive father as he sat listening to music. Big Dipper tore through the house, smashing everything in sight. He found a safe, cleaned out the cash, and told his men to take it all. They left with the money, but Big Dipper stayed behind, waiting. When Daeho got home, he was stunned to find his adoptive parents dead. Inside, Big Dipper was already there, ready for him. A savage clash between the two North Korean agents was bound to happen. The moment Daeho stepped inside and spotted Big Dipper, they tore into each other. Big Dipper struck first, hammering Daeho's chest and head with rapid punches. Daeho blocked what he could, then drove a hard kick into Big Dipper's gut, forcing him back. Big Dipper pulled a knife and slashed wildly. Daeho dodged, grabbed his wrist, and twisted until the blade dropped. But Big Dipper charged again, slammed Daeho against the wall, and hammered his ribs. Daeho fought back with an elbow to the jaw, then pulled Big Dipper's head down and smashed a knee into his face. As Big Dipper staggered, Daeho delivered a crushing strike to his neck, dropping him to the floor. Wounded but still desperate, Big Dipper reached for the knife. However, Daeho was faster. He seized the blade and drove it deep, finishing the fight. After it was done, Daeho set fire to the house, leaving the bodies of his adoptive parents and Big Dipper behind, wiping out every trace. With Big Dipper dead, Daeho believed his mission was finally over. He headed to the small eatery run by the old woman seen at the start of the story. Every North Korean spy finishing a job in the South stopped there before heading home. But before she could bring him a drink, Daeho suddenly collapsed. The next day, South Korean agent Young-min arrived at Daeho's burned house to investigate. Sifting through the ruins, he and his partner found a piece of Daeho's school uniform. It didn't take long for them to uncover the truth. Daeho was really Lee Myung-hoon, a North Korean spy. Meanwhile, the old woman who had once worked with his father found Daeho unconscious and brought him back to health. Once he recovered, she fed him, and soon he was helping her with small chores, like carrying groceries. One afternoon on their way home, they took a break and talked. When she asked about his family, Daeho showed her a photo. Right away, the old woman realized he was the eldest son of Lee Young-ho. The next morning, a package arrived for Daeho. Inside was a phone, a clear sign his mission in South Korea wasn't finished. Colonel Moon called with one final order: recover the valuables Big Dipper's crew had stolen, including diamonds worth nearly 40 million won. To keep Daeho in line, Colonel Moon sent a video of Hye-in, alive and well. Seeing her smile locked in Daeho's mind, he decided to end this job fast so he could finally go home. Wasting no time, Daeho headed straight to a building known for diamond deals. He slipped in through a side hall, pulled his gun, and shot 2 guards at the main door without pause. Inside, more men tried to fight back. In response, Daeho moved quickly, dropping them one by one until the place fell quiet. Then he crept forward, spotting a shaking man with glasses hiding behind an iron pipe, clutching a briefcase. Dae-ho aimed his pistol, and the terrified man handed over the case on the spot. Inside were diamonds worth millions. Without lingering, Dae-ho took the case and left before anyone else could show up. Before departing, he stopped to buy a sweater as a keepsake for the old woman who had cared for him, along with a hair clip. That night, Dae-ho went back to the old woman's shop to say his final goodbye. He handed her a new sweater he'd bought, a small way to thank her for all she had done since he first arrived. With that, he left, closing that chapter behind him. Later, he stopped by the ballet studio where Hye-in was practicing. He came only to say goodbye, ready to reunite with his sister and then head to the port for his journey back to North Korea. As he waited for the ship, a man suddenly attacked, stabbing him and taunting that no spy ever truly made it home. Hurt but not beaten, Dae-ho fought back hard, took the weapon, and killed his attacker. At the same time, South Korea's intelligence forces launched a crackdown, rounding up North Korean spies hidden as regular people. Every agent from Unit 8 was caught, including the old woman who had once sheltered Dae-ho. From a distance, Dae-ho watched in shock as police gunned down the old woman when she tried to fight back. He stood there frozen, tears welling up at the cruel fate of the person who once saved his life. Wounded and drained, Dae-ho ran from the special forces now hunting him. Pushing through the pain, he made it to Hye-in's house and slipped inside to hide. Moments later, he collapsed at her door, bleeding badly and barely conscious. Horrified, Hye-in rushed to clean his wounds and care for him until he finally drifted off to sleep. Later, Hye-in turned on the TV and saw breaking news about a huge manhunt for North Korean spies. When a list of wanted faces came up, she was stunned to see Dae-ho's face shown on the screen. Even with the truth now clear, she couldn't bring herself to turn him in, remembering all he had done for her. Soon after, Hye-in went out to pick up groceries. On her way back, she was stopped by Young-min, a South Korean agent who already knew she was linked to Dae-ho. He pressed her for answers, but Hye-in lied, saying she hadn't seen Dae-ho at all. Young-min gave her his card, telling her to call if she ever learned more. Back home, Hye-in carefully covered Dae-ho's motorcycle with a dark cloth to keep it hidden, then checked on him inside. Not long after, Colonel Moon arrived in South Korea himself, bringing Dae-ho's younger sister with him. Convinced Dae-ho had turned traitor, Colonel Moon called and demanded a meeting. He told Dae-ho to come with the diamonds if he wanted to see his sister safe. From behind the door, Hye-in secretly listened to every word of their tense exchange. Before heading out to face Colonel Moon, Dae-ho wrote Hye-in a note, asking her to care for his sister if he didn't come back. Worried after reading Dae-ho's note, Hye-in reached out to Young-min and revealed everything, who Dae-ho really was and his plan to meet Colonel Moon. Meanwhile, Dae-ho showed up at a parking lot to face Colonel Moon, spotting his sister tied up in a car. Terrified, she tried to call out to him. Dae-ho held up the bag of diamonds to show he was ready to trade. But before the deal could happen, one of Moon's men took aim to shoot. Right then, South Korean agents stormed in, setting off a fierce gunfight. As bullets flew, Moon tried to drag Dae-ho's sister away. Dae-ho gave chase, but police moved in and blocked Moon's escape. Despite this, Moon managed to slip off, while Hye-in was taken by the authorities. Dae-ho could only watch from afar before slipping away to avoid arrest. Later, as a South Korean agent was escorting Hye-in and collecting Dae-ho's things, one of Moon's men ambushed them. He killed the agent and kidnapped Hye-in. Soon after, Moon called Dae-ho with a chilling threat: hand over the diamonds or watch Hye-in suffer. Desperate, Dae-ho called Young-min and promised he'd turn himself in once it was all over. All he asked was a chance to hear his sister's voice. Hearing her brought him a brief comfort he hadn't felt in so long. But as tears fell, he knew he had to see this through for her safety and peace. Soon after, Dae-ho showed up at the spot where Colonel Moon waited. He pulled out the diamonds, but had no plan to actually hand them over. He already saw through Moon's scheme. It was all for his own gain. Without hesitation, Dae-ho hurled the diamonds aside, drew his gun, and fired at Moon's man. In the intense shootout that followed, he gunned down several attackers and freed Hye-in. Then Dae-ho tossed the bag, packed with a bomb he had set up ahead of time. The huge blast that followed wiped out Colonel Moon and his entire crew. As Dae-ho and Hye-in tried to get away, one of Moon's last men charged at them. Dae-ho fought back with everything he had, telling Hye-in to run. Right then, Colonel Moon, somehow still alive after the blast, showed up again and opened fire, hitting Dae-ho several times. Young-min and his team arrived just in time, setting off another fierce gunfight. In the chaos, Dae-ho managed to shoot Moon, finally putting an end to him, but took fatal hits himself. Youngmin and Hyein rushed Daeho toward the hospital, but he didn't make it. Far away, Daeho's younger sister felt a sudden dread and dropped the cup in her hand. Later, Hyein and Daeho's sister stood together, both shaken by his loss. The story closed with Hyein walking alongside the girl, speaking of Daeho and trying to fulfill his final wish to look after his little sister. And with that, the story came to an end. So the moral of the story is, never trust a cake from a spy bakery, because it might come with a free gun, and that's just way too many carbs and drama for one dessert.